Alrighty. Oh, day 4 of the yaps, and I'm excited today because something just came in the mail. Check me out. I got a little mic. I got a microphone. Anyway, I'm pretty happy about that. DJI got it on special. Fucking ace. Now, today, I thought that I would yap about goal setting because I have had quite an interesting journey with my goals, and obviously as you hit your goals they evolve over time. So I thought I would just yap about that, the progression of my goals and the importance of constantly setting new goals. Again, I don't really know where I'm going to go with this yap, but I'm just gonna yap, and it's gonna flow, and I feel good about this one. But I wonder where I start. Actually, I really wonder where I start. You know, it was my last year of school when I was 18, when I first woke up, I guess you would say. One of my good mates, Finn Linus, who now has a successful web design agency, was starting. This was just as Andrew Tate was coming up. He was watching Andrew Tate, and he was like, Zach, you gotta check this guy out. Listen to the shit that he's saying. This was my last year of school, so I would have been 18 or turning 18. And he's talking about business and online money. And at this point, I remember being pretty oblivious to it all, if I'm being honest. And Finn was much more into it than I was at that time. But I remember that him and his friend were starting a drop shipping business selling, what was it called? But it was like those funnels that you use at parties. That looks fucking gay, I know. But funnels and shotgun tools to sell to the party scene basically here in New Zealand. And they had a supplier, they got their store up and running, and they had their products, and I was like, fuck, I was interested. They would sit in a classroom at lunchtime, go up on the whiteboard, plan out the business and everything, and I was fascinated by it. And that was my first glimpse of fucking hell, all right, what's this all about? And then I started to kind of look into it myself, watched the Andrew Tate videos. It was the 101 or 100 business lessons, I think. And yeah, I started to kind of immerse myself in it. As I started to realize that this was an actual possibility and a path, I resonated with it more and more, and eventually just decided that I was going to figure out how to make money online, because I knew I was smart, I knew I was different, and I had potential, and I just had no vehicle to fulfill it. And I was like, cool, this is going to be my shit. I'm going to figure this out. And I can't remember if I set any, the topic is goal setting, right? And initially, I think the goal was just not to work a 9 to 5 and to make enough money online to not work. And that was kind of my goal all the way through. I remember I started with a drop shipping business selling sunglasses. It was called Styler Eyes. Set up my Shopify and everything, found my products on Alibaba is the site, and then it was I was selling them for festivals, sunglasses for festivals, and then the festival time rolled around, I had my shop up and everything, but I hadn't contacted a supplier. There was still a lot of unfinished business in terms of actually setting up the business, and then let alone marketing it. I didn't even get around to that point, and it just kind of fizzled out. That was the first thing that I tried and actually put effort into setting up. After that, see, my journey was very volatile. I tried that and I would lock in for a bit, but honestly didn't get very far, all things considered. Then I would take some time off. I fucked around. I went to a few festivals, and then I was like, okay, cool, let's lock back in on this money thing. So I would research, and I would come across different business models and ideas of ways you can make money, because obviously everyone's posting about it in reels and online and everything. And I came across another business model of this guy. I went through his funnel. I ended up on a landing page watching a 10-minute video, and he basically pitched a course at the end for $100. I ended up investing in it, and it was just a course A through Z of setting up basically getting in touch with a with like a Google Ads expert through Upwork or Fiverr, partnering with them, and then setting up a Instagram page tailored for, mine was like dentist. I was going to run Google Ads for dentists, and then I was essentially the middleman. I would charge them $2,000. I would pay my Indian friend I've gotten from Upwork like $500 or whatever, and collect the difference. And that was the business model that he taught. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I went all the way through, set up all my shit, and I partnered with a guy, and I was like, fuck, this is it. This is how I'm gonna make it. And yeah, I just remember it fizzling out with the whole outreach, because I got to the point where I was outreaching and I was sending messages to dentists every single day, and I was trying to land a client. And during this time, I was also not in the best environment, and I was like smoking weed quite a lot, etc., being a bit of a degenerate. So as soon as it got hard and there was a little bit of friction with like, oh, I can't get clients, it just kind of fizzled out. And I was working at that time. Honestly, it was really hard to like put time and effort into online business, because I was working and I was gymming and all this other shit, but really it just wasn't a priority for me, and I didn't want it bad enough, so it just fizzled out. I tried so many other things, and really the desire was just so strong to make money online and escape the matrix and all of this. Anyway, my environment kind of held me back all throughout 2023, I think it was, the year after I left school. Then I moved to Australia with my now ex-girlfriend. We locked in together, built a SaaS agency, and that just fizzled out after 6 months as well. We broke up, la-di-da-di-da. Fast forward to when I was in Vietnam, and I was like, fucking hell, like I still haven't figured it out. It's been like 2 years. I've tried so many different things. I've jumped ship constantly, never stuck with anything long enough to actually see it through. And I was like, it's now or never. I ended up investing big into a personal branding course, and I was like, cool, content is how I'm going to make money. Started jamming content at the start of 2025, and didn't really see at any point a way that I could turn that into income. Ended up making another big investment into a remote sales mentorship, and I was like, that was like do or die. I had to make it work. My back was up against the wall. Lo and behold, I made it work. And my goal when I was in Vietnam, it was like I had a ticking time bomb. I only had enough money for like the next 2 months, and then I would have had to go home and get a 9 to 5. And my goal was so clear of starting to make money online through remote sales, so that I did not have to go back and get a 9 to 5. That was literally it, and I wanted it so bad. That was all I did for 2 months, locked in, routine was dialed, absolutely everything, and it fucking worked. I made it happen. I started making money online for the very first time properly towards the end of last year. Honestly, it was like September 2025. And that took me to Bali. I was able to just have enough money to get myself there with a plane ticket. I remember I was broke in Bali for half of the time that I was there. I borrowed money from my dad just so I could pay rent and survive. But I was getting by, and I was leveling up and everything. Now, the whole point of this, which has kind of just turned into me yapping about my story a little bit, but it's goal setting and how goals kind of progress over time. With the initial goal that I had of just making money online and not having to go back to a 9 to 5, that was strong. There's something that Connor says, and it's like, are you either chasing the cheese or are you running from the cat, assuming that you're a mouse, right? If you're chasing the cheese, you're goal oriented, you're chasing something. If you're running away from the cat, there's something like you're running away from, right? For me, that was a 9 to 5. There was a ticking time bomb. There was fire under my ass. I fucking had to make that work. Otherwise I would have been back in that 9 to 5. And the thought of that was just like absolute failure to me. And that's what drove me throughout that time. Now, fast forward to even like today, or let's say a few months ago, I'm making decent money online. And my goal of not being in a 9 to 5 is kind of irrelevant now, because I truly believe that I am never going to have to work a 9 to 5. I know that I'm not going to have to. And I noticed that my fuel, right, my why was nowhere near as strong, because my previous why of not having a 9 to 5 and running away from the cat that was chasing me, which was that was no longer relevant. I no longer felt that fire under my arse. So recently, like in the last couple of months, I haven't been as driven as I was when I was first starting to make money, because I didn't have a clear enough goal, and also coupled with that, a strong enough why for why I wanted to reach that goal. So I've kind of just done a bit of a reset and reflection and thinking about what it is that I now actually want. And I'll share with you the identity, the version of myself I'm working towards is 30 Rack Zach. That's the whole reason I'm doing all of this, the YouTube content, because 30 Rack Zach, he talks clearly about his ideas, concepts, he doesn't use filler words, he's confident, and this constant repetition is going to just force me into that version of myself, that identity. And basically what I've done is gotten super clear on who 30 Rack Zach is, why I actually want to make $30,000 in a month, every single month. It's not just because I want the money, right? It's like, what does that money actually mean to me? And I got really deep asking questions on myself about why I actually want to achieve it, who I'm letting down if I don't achieve it, like who's going to be impacted when I do. My mum, for example, my younger self, I think of a lot. I really channel the version of myself that was coming up and trying all of those shitty courses years ago while he was smoking weed, and I remember how certain I was that I was gonna figure it out. And now every time that I slack, I framed it so that I'm letting that guy down. I'm laughing in his face. I'm telling him he needs to be realistic. And that is now what I use to channel, maybe that's not the right way to word it, that is now what I use as fuel for my why and for my goals. Another big one is my mum, and I've framed it in a way that's every time I choose the easy option, I increase the likelihood that she dies unfulfilled with bucket list items not checked off, which is kind of dark and a bit fucked, but framing it like that, I want to give my mum the life that she wants and deserves, and that is my biggest why right now. So yeah, I think life journey, your story, is a constant cycle of setting goals, hitting them, and then as soon as you do, setting new ones so that you don't kind of die off, because that's kind of what happened to me. I was pushing. I got to the point where I was making money, and then I was like, okay, cool, I've made it now, because I hadn't set new goals, and I felt like, oh, sweet, life is easy, this and that, I don't really have to try anymore, I'm not being challenged or whatever, and I fell off a little bit. But now in hindsight, I know what I did wrong, and yeah, that's just me being honest and transparent about my kind of journey with my goals, and now I have new ones. And yeah, like I was saying, life, I believe, is just a constant stacking of goals, breaking them, setting new ceilings for yourself so you have something else to chase, you have something else to work for, and new reasons why. Maybe your why doesn't change, but it's just, you need to be constantly aware of where you're heading, have a very clear idea of what the next step is, and then what's after that and what's after that, and never be content, because that's how you fall off, that's how you get comfortable, and that's how you decrease the rate of growth. So I have found so far. That's my yap about goals. Kind of turned into a bit about my story, my journey. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, nice little sunset. Kind of wanted to do this a little bit sooner, because now it's kind of dark, but that's it for today. Peace.